Have you ever thought that sometimes justice comes so unexpected? That seems to be a thing of the movie. You know that moment when you, a thief, will think that it is about to come out with the best of the treasury, only to find out that he was deceived by something far more powerful than he could ever imagine? As it is, this is a story that I'm going to have to tell you. It came to pass on a simple farm, with the smell of the grass or wet chickens hooting out of curiosity, and a sun that seemed to be trying to melt down to the ground as a whole. A peaceful place where everyone knows everyone and nothing is as it seems out of place, until the day that the bad luck was to have been in a business that is different. Hello, my name is Danielle Brooks, and the events of that day made me realize that insects have a sense of the divine justice. You'll understand why in a moment, but let what I saw, it was so surreal that not even Hollywood would dare to imagine that a story like this. And look, if you think you've seen it all, it stays with me until the very end, because that narrative is going to surprise you in a way you might never have expected. And the crazy thing? It all started with a simple curiosity, a kind of a challenge. It became a real lesson of a moral or a lesson in justice to poetics that's only nature is able to write. On that farm, he had his secrets, and one of them was about a bucket of gold, hidden beneath the old barn wood. No one was giving a lot of attention to him until one day, when a subject is through a total disaster with a hat askew and a backpack board, she decided to venture out there. Have you ever gone through a situation in which it seemed that everything was going to go wrong, even without wanting to? As it is, it would seem that there, on that piece of land, it is the bad luck. He decided to make sure that there is good in the most unexpected way. And what happened after that, you're only going to understand in the same watching it until the end, because the story is far from over. But the thing that really caught our attention was how it all unfolded in a sequence of events that are so funny, chaotic, and at the same time, it's so full of justice. Through a poetic, it hurts to laugh. And I guarantee you never seen before a story of a ranch like this before. So stay with me, because in the next chapter reveals the details that you are going to flip her head upside down. You are going to find out that sometimes the universe and he has the same face of the court, and the punishment of the most unexpected, you can see exactly where they are least expected. And, hey, believe me, this is a story that is only beginning. To the extent that the silent install, it looks like the air is charged from the energy of which we are not able to fully explain. It was as if the universe was whispering secrets that only those who actually pay attention you can hear. In this moment of reflection, you realize that all the things that seem so simple and daily life left in it a complexity that is often overlooked. And it is precisely this kind of invisible meaning that it makes it all the more profound, more real. Thinking about it, all of it brings a feeling of connection, of which every action, every choice has weight, even though you don't even realize it at the time. It was as if the universe was always watching you, waiting for the right moment to show us that nothing happens by chance. And in this game of discovery, we begin to understand that our experiences are the mirrors of something bigger than themselves, a lesson that only reveals its true value over time. Maybe that's what keeps us alive. The constant search for meaning, for answers, and at times seem to be so close to you, but only if you make it clear just for me to listen to what your heart has to say about it. If a story has touched you in some way, leave it here in the comments. The more it made his heart speed up, or what have you learnt from your own experience? I always love to know how these stories resonate with your life, because, in the back, this trade-off is the one that gives meaning to all of this. And if you ever feel you want to continue to explore these themes with me, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Here, every step we take together is a great opportunity to get a better understanding of ourselves and the world around us. After all, this trip will only make sense if you share it with those who really matter. Right now, for us to continue to deepen this topic, there's something even more important what you need to understand. I now want to go more in depth on this subject, because in essence what we're talking about goes far beyond that of a simple thoughts or emotions fleeting. It's a revelation that touches on the very core of our existence, a fact that is too often preferred to ignore it, for fear of seeing what it actually means for our daily lives. When you begin to realize that our decisions, our attitudes, our beliefs, and even our dreams are all connected by a web of invisible choices, conscious and unconscious, everything gets a whole new dimension. It is as though, all of a sudden, we see the life in a lens clear, sharp, and capable of revealing all the details of it before it went unnoticed. And in doing so, there is a question troubling. At what point are we really in control of our own stories? Or are we just following a script in the preset standards, limitations, or what we believe to be normal? It can be a little bit scary, but because it challenges our comfort zone, the one that often prevents us from seeing our true freedom. With the freedom to choose who we are and who we want to be, and most importantly, those who have decided to leave it be. It is a kind of wake up to the illusion that it's all around us to define who we are, when in fact we are the ones who have the power to create such a narrative, from the ground up, to rewrite our own set of rules, to break down what no longer serves us. This understanding serves as a key that opens a door to a universe that is built, which remained in hiding, often locked himself in a layer of fear, doubt, and guilt. And then, when you open that door, we can begin to see that each and every choice you made, however small it seems, carries a burden of meaning that you can turn all the way. It's as if every step was a piece of a jigsaw puzzle which, when plugged into the right spot to reveal a larger image, more true, more in tune with our purpose. But this is a journey of self-discovery that is not linear or easy. It is about having the courage to face up to our own ghosts, and to question our own beliefs and, above all, to accept that it's probably the biggest lie we tell ourselves is to believe that you already know everything about who you are. They really are a work of art in constant construction, with a history of reinventing itself each and every day, in every decision, in every moment, in silence, we listen to the truth. And it is this ability to reinvent yourself, to challenge yourself, this is the one that gives you the freedom to truly choose what we carry with us, and what we will leave behind, and what we've decided to embrace it as part of who we are. And then goes into a deep thought. Are we living up to our core, or just playing back a pattern that has been imposed? Maybe for the back of all the search for the answers, and there will almost instinctively to reconnect with the things that are real, without masks, without any expectations, and external, without the burden of an image that are not belongs to us. This is often a silent, almost in a whisper, in the bottom of my heart, and that he calls us to a path of authenticity. And when you hear this call, we begin to understand that the whole of our story so far has been one of preparation. Learning is necessary for us to reach this moment of clarity. It's as if every experience, every mistake, every shot, I had a higher purpose, to teach us that real change only happens when we allow ourselves to see beyond the surface, beyond the limitations that we have created in our minds. And in this broader view, gives us the power to decide, indeed, to those who want to be in the future as well. Because, after all, our greatest freedom is the ability to choose what we make it to vibrate, which connects us to our deeper purpose. And it is this choice that made a conscious decision. It's the one that leads to true transformation. A change that is more than skin deep, but that strikes at the roots of our being, that which causes us to wake up to a new reality that is aligned with our essence. And, in doing so, we realize that he is no accident, that all of us brought it up to here with the reason, and what the next step is entirely up to us. So, the real question is, to what extent are we willing to go in order to find out who you really are from the inside out? And, more importantly, what will be our next decisions in the face of this new light? Because, in the end, it all comes down to a choice. Stay in the comfort zone of an illusion, or to embrace the freedom to be yourself, get to know each other deeply, and, thus, to transform our lives as well. And it is at this point that everything is connected. That is, the whole of our journey gets the sense when we recognize that change starts within each of us. That is the truth. The more powerful you are in our ability to reinvent ourselves, and wake up to a new reality, in which we are the creators of our fate with bravery, love, and a genuine desire to improve. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. It is with this understanding that it all starts within us. It is a call to silence, to face our own shadows, our deepest fears, that inner voice that many times you try to convince us that we are capable of, what the world out there is far more powerful than we do. But, in essence, that this is all an illusion that we create and that we can debunk you with a simple act of courage. A look inside. When we first started doing this, we realized that our life is not a series of coincidences, but a continuous creation, is a symphony composed by some of our choices, our emotions, and our deeply held beliefs. And it is this discovery that has the power of almost magical, because it returns control. It puts us as the authors of our own stories, even though many times it may seem that everything around you is falling apart. It is as if, in front of a mirror, and finally we could see who we really are, beyond the masks that we like to hide our vulnerabilities, or to run away from the responsibility of being authentic. And then, at that moment, the most sincere, it all begins to make sense of what we believe, what we want, what's stopping us from moving forward. It is a revelation of that which cuts off the bottom, because it shows that our bounds are often the only buildings, that the mental barriers that we put ourselves out of fear of the unknown, or a false sense of safety in your comfort zone. But true freedom comes when we choose to challenge these limitations, when we allow ourselves to feel the weight of our emotions, without judging, without a doubt, simply by looking at it, to understand what they have to teach us. And when you do that, you start to realize that change is not something that is foreign. It is not an achievement, what comes out of it, but an inner transformation. A silent revolution is what happens when we align our actions with our deepest truth. It's like a seed that can be grown with great patience and self-love. It blooms into something that is not thought to be possible. And with this development, the more it looks like a solitary path at times, it is also a journey into the connections that are authentic, from encounters with people who vibrate at the same rate of growth, and that they understand that true strength lies in vulnerability, and the courage to show who they really are, even if it means exposure, pain, or tears. Each and every step that we take in this process, it is a statement of what we are capable of, rewriting our history, and transforming pain into a learning experience, a failure as an opportunity, fear into strength. And then, in the motion, we find that the higher the secret lies in our ability to keep the hope alive, to trust that everything will make sense to you, even in the moments of greatest darkness, because it is in the blackest night that the stars shine with more intensity. It is necessary, and then, with a closer look, and attention to the delicate what our soul is telling us, because it is the compass that guides us on their journey between who we were and who we can become. And, when you accept this truth, it is freed from the prison of the invisible, of a prison in which many of the times you don't even realize it's there, but it also prevents us from reaching our full potential. Every decision we make, every thought we choose to grow, it is a seed sown in the soil of our soul that is ready to grow into something bigger, more closely aligned with our essence. And such a deep connection with who we really are is the one that gives us the strength to continue, to persevere, even when things seem to fall apart, because we all know that deep down inside, we are the creators of our own realities, and the architects of our own destiny. And, well, life ceases to be a series of random events, and it becomes a piece of art that you can paint with all the vibrant colors of our authenticity. This is the truth that sets us free. We challenge you to look beyond the surface, to delve into the essence of who we really are without fear, love, and courage. And, in the process, it all starts to make sense, because we have found that the greatest change is in our ability to reconnect with our own light, to light a fire that no one can erase it, even in the moments of greatest darkness. I now want to go more in depth on this topic, and it is precisely because of this dive into the essence of who we realize that many of our limitations, doubts, and fears are the constructs which, over time, become invisible walls around ourselves. These walls, which at times appear as a solid, which prevents us from seeing the true freedom that already lives inside of us, just waiting to be seen. And, when you think about it, you start to realize that the whole secret lies in the courage to look inward, face your own shadows without fear, because they are the ones who carry the key of our transformation. Every shadow, every doubt, every feeling of inadequacy, it is nothing more than a piece of a past that we are in charge, as if it were the weights that keep us from moving forward, when in fact they are mirrors that show you the things that you need to release it. And then, when you release it, we open up space for a new way of seeing the world, in a clearer, lighter, and more accurate. Such a deep emotional connection with the lights go on a journey of self-discovery, which requires patience, but it's also a willingness to accept that we are in a constant state of evolution. There isn't a finish line in the final, because of the growth is a dance operation between the moments of discovery and a few moments of silence to listen, to dig even deeper into our lives. When we stop to have a look inside and realize that true freedom is not something that is out there waiting for us, but it's a condition that is within, hidden away under layers of concepts, expectations, and limitations as we from time to time. It's as if, when you remove the layers, we can finally see our true face, the one that's never been hidden, but it was clouded by our own doubts and limitations. And, in the process, we begin to understand that the greatest courage is to allow yourself to feel, to embrace every emotion, no matter how difficult it may be, because they are the threads that connect us to our authenticity. It's not about to deny the fear, the pain, or course, but rather to learn to live with them, and know they have mastered. When we do so, we bridge the gap between who we are and who we can become. A bridge is made up of self-love, understanding, and acceptance. This bridge will lead you to a deeper understanding of what we are looking for outside validation, recognition, endorsement. In fact, it is already inside us, just waiting to be discovered. And then, to the extent that we are reconnecting with the source of light, we can begin to understand that the choices we make, no matter how simple they may seem, they carry a weight of greater significance. Every decision is an opportunity to reaffirm who we are, in fact, to choose love instead of fear, anger, hope instead of despair. And this is a movement, this is a decision. Your daily us we align with our lives, makes us slightly but in depth, revealing a new way of looking at life. The more you take, the most real, the most of us. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. When we understand that real change takes place first within ourselves, we realize that each attitude, each and every thought of love and gratitude, it's like a seed that germinates in your soul in such a bringing up, a strength we never knew existed. It is our light, which, when turned on, light the way for others, creating a chain of processing that goes beyond the limits and barriers. Because, deep down, what you are looking for is not a life without problems, but it's a life where we can deal with the adversities of life with courage, knowing that we will be able to transform any shade into the light. And this realization is liberating, as it gives us the power to choose who they really want to be, day by day, moment by moment. And when you think about all of this, we see that it is the very essence of freedom, is the acceptance of who we are, with our faults, our doubts, and our potential. There is nothing more liberating than to acknowledge that we are in the process of being constructed, constant, and that this day is the greatest gift we can receive. It is in this recognition that we find the peace, strength, and a renewed hope that no matter what happens around us, we can always come back to our center, to the truth, which is the source of all that we are and all that we can be. So, as long as this journey unfolds in front of us, we invite you to immerse yourself even deeper in this world of discovery, knowing that every step forward we take to get us to reconnect with our essence, it is a silent revolution, a daily victory against anything that tries to limit us, define us, or put us in prison. Because at the end of the day, the greater the freedom, the one that was born from within, out of the courage to be who you are, in fact, no masks, no fear, only love and authenticity. And in it, you realize that all of this is possible because our real strength has never been outside. He was always there, just waiting for us to acknowledge. And it is in this wake-up call that we can begin to understand that life, with all its complexities and challenges, it is nothing more than a mirror of what we carry inside of us. Each and every scar, every doubt, every fear we hide from, it turns out, is a kind of prison, invisible barrier that prevents us from moving forward in a very light way. But if the us allows you to look into it with courage and compassion, and it changes everything. This is a journey of self-discovery that is as a continuous discovery, a search for for who you really are beyond the masks that we've created to protect us, the back of which is often hidden in our deepest truths. And in doing so, we begin to understand the power that you have been searching for out there. He was always in here, get ready to be turned on. It's as if, when you open your eyes to this truth, we are seeing that in all the universe conspires in favor of the one who knows you, who accept their imperfections, and their light and without judgment. At this point, it all gets a whole new perspective to understand what is likely to come from a place that's a lot older and wiser than your mind can't reach on her own. It is as if a voice susurrus of the heart that the freedom of truth is not dependent on external circumstances, for material gain, or for the approval of others, but rather to an internal decision of whether to accept, to love, and to be understood. And this is a real revolution because it challenges us all of what we believe to be necessary in order to be happy. Happiness is, in its essence, it becomes a state of connection with that part and the most authentic to us. We feel a sense of peace that comes from recognizing our own authenticity. When we are able to feel it, she realizes that life is no longer a constant battle for the validation, and it happens to be in a space of infinite possibilities, an invitation to create, to express, to develop. And, in the process, we discover that the real power is not in the resistance and the escape from our fear, but the courage to face them head-on with respect and kindness. That is the conflict that we face. It's a chance for us to get to know you better, to understand the roots of our own limitations, and, thus, the release of our very essence. At each time step, a layer of illusion melts away, revealing the inner universe full of potential and light. And it is this light that, when lit, light the way not only for ourselves but also for people who are around us because of the authenticity of moves, informs, transforms it. And then we realize that nothing is by chance, and that every experience, every encounter, every challenge, and was a critical piece in the great puzzle of our evolution. And it is this insight leads us to a broader understanding that real change starts within, and in the decision-making every day to be true to yourself. It's like planting a seed of self-love, hope, courage, and taking care of it with the utmost dedication. Given that the growth in patience, quiet, and faith, when you connect with that truth, and everything seems to be lighter, more beautiful as much as possible. Because deep down we realize that our freedom is a choice, a conscious surrender to our true selves, without fear, be vulnerable and afraid to shine in our lives. And when you do that, life becomes a dance in harmonious transition between the inside and the outside, between the dream and the action, between what we want and what we really are. I now want to go more in depth on this topic, because this is a journey of self-discovery, is a gateway to a universe of possibilities, is that it only comes into its own when we get to explore our own depths. It is in this space that is quiet, where your emotions are the truths in the most sincere, and that we find the key to unlocking all the potential that resides in all of us. And then, when you open the door, we realize that our most important mission is not to seek validation from the outside world, but rather the rediscovery of who we are beyond the surface, beyond the labels and expectations. It is a journey that requires courage, yes, but also the tenderness and infinite through with our own history, because every step you take, no matter how hard it may seem, it is an opportunity for us to reach more and more of our lives, more pure. And in doing so, we make it very clear. The freedom that you have been searching for has always been right here, just waiting for you to reconnaissance. Says right there, I came to realize the truth. And if you think about all of this, I realize that a lot of times we get so caught up in the day-to-day grind, the constant search for answers on the outside, that we forget to look within, to listen to that quiet voice that whispers that it really doesn't matter. This voice is often drowned out by the noise of the expectations for the trials that we have from a young age, fears that seem to be the giant in front of our vulnerability to nature. But the real transformation happens when we stop, breathe deeply, and let the voice emerging in the lead, even if it challenges you to abandon the old certainties or face the truths that we would rather hide from. This is the moment when courage and a quiet that we start to realize that all the fighting for change, for growth, and it is also a journey of self-love, and a kind and gentle dedication to our true essence, and that's always been there, just waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. And this is like a delicate dance, with the life, in which we learn to put our trust in a rhythm that beats within you, even when everything around us seems uncertain or chaotic. It is a conscious acceptance of each and every tear, every doubt, every fear, to make the tiles unique in our history, and that the inclusion of these broken pieces with tenderness, we have built a solid foundation for a genuine emotional release. This is freedom. This is not something that you can conquer in no time, not a long way off. And it is in a state of presence, a daily choice to connect with us as we are of the truth, without a mask, without the mask, without the mask. It is this authenticity that we find the strength to move forward. It is not because everything is perfect, but because you have learned to appreciate each and every imperfection, every scar as a part of our beauty needs. And, in the process of this journey, we begin to understand that all the answers that we seek out there are nothing more than the echoes of that which already exists within us, just waiting for you to have the courage to listen to them. It's like opening a door that had always been there, hidden by the layers of conditioning and the distractions, and you realize that when you walk through it, we are faced with a freedom that is quiet, but the place which allows us to be who we truly are without fear of judgment, without fear of rejection. This freedom is a constant invitation to self-discovery, and a chance for us to remove anything that doesn't belong to us, and to embrace our lives with love, with patience. And the more you do it, the more clearly you feel that your life is not something that happens by chance, but it is a manifestation of our internal state. Our choices are the most profound. It is a journey of discovery and continued where each step reveals a new layer, and ourselves, a new opportunity to expand, to love, and to accept it. And, in this way, we have learned that the bigger the truth that is always within our reach, hidden in the simplicity of the present moment, in the uprightness of our hearts. When we were able to open up the space for that fact, everything around us is getting a new color, a new texture, a new intensity. And that strength doesn't come from big events or achievements of the outside, but a deep connection with who we are of the truth, the pulsating silently, inside each and every one of us, just waiting to take the first step in order to recognize it. Because deep down, it all starts with the courage to look within, to accept that we are a work in progress, always on the move and always looking up. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. And it is at this point that I realize that this is a journey of self-discovery, liberation, and is also on a journey of love, compassion, and patience with ourselves and others. It is understood that each and every moment of doubt, fear, or resistance, it is an opportunity for us to welcome you with tenderness and to learn to trust in one's own essence is the same, even when everything seems to be falling apart. It is an invitation to let go of judgment and to embrace our vulnerability as a positive force for change, which we connect to our true essence. When we do that, we realize that we are no longer struggling with life, dance to it, accepting in their nuances, and learning how to enjoy each and every step, no matter how difficult it may be. And, well, freedom is no longer an achievement, far away, and it becomes a constant presence with a choice of daily to find, to discover, to love each other. For this reason, it is important to understand that the quest for authenticity, for peace of mind, it is not a mission that we carry about ourselves. It is a journey into the collective and a sharing of experiences and a connection with each other which is also on the same quest. Because deep down we are all mirrors of each other and reflecting on our own truths, our own personal sorrows, and to our own devices. When we allow ourselves to recognize that we let go of judgments and open up to compassion, which is the major fuel for the transformation. And in doing so, we realize that true freedom comes from the recognition that we are all beings are in a constant state of evolution, and that every step, every stumble, every achievement is part of the history of a unique and valuable. In a story that could only be written by us with the courage, the kindness, and, above all, with love. Now, I want you to go even deeper on this topic. And in doing so, I understand that this is a journey of self-discovery. It is, in fact, on a journey to reconnect with what you really are. A being of light, you will be able to transform their own lives as they embrace the essence, the most pure. It is also a call for us to stop looking for answers outside, and believes that the path is valid only if it is perfect or free from obstructions, and that you understand that every imperfection is a part of the package. That is, each question is to be an open door for growth. When we accept this truth, it changes everything. The weight of trying to be someone you aren't, we are lost, and in place of it, there is a freedom in that quiet, the peace that comes from within, from knowing that we're exactly where we're supposed to be, with all our imperfections, vulnerabilities, and our potential. And more than that our true strength lies in the courage to be authentic. We will show ourselves to the world with all of our lives, without fear, without masks, without charge. And in that moment, for an in-depth understanding, we realize that the greatest change will not come from the major external changes, but internal change, a new way of looking at ourselves in a new relationship of love and respect for our history. Because in the end, all that really matters is how far we can get in touch with the truth that has always been here, in the us, hoping that we have the courage to listen to it. And in doing so, we realize that the freedom you have been searching for, it never was something that was very far away, but it's something that has always been within the reach of our minds, just waiting for us to permittissimos to open up to her. And then, when you open the door and everything changed, because we now live more lightly on the planet with more authenticity, and most of all, with more love in and of ourselves. And in that moment of reflection, we realized that the whole of the journey, with its aches and pains, doubts and setbacks, I had intended to, in the drive to exactly the way up here, even with this understanding of what true freedom is not something that we have to win out there, but it's something that is born inside of us. A decision is silent on the release of the box unseen that we have without realizing it. It is as if, for such a long time, we were stuck on the idea of happiness, success, and love. It would be something that would come out of it to anyone in any particular circumstance, when, in fact, it has been within our reach, is invisible, like a seed that only needs to be watered in order for our recognition of the courage to look into the case. And it is this courage, it is often the most difficult step, because it requires us to face our own shadows, our deepest fears, our own limiting beliefs, all of the things that we hide in the darkest corner of our being, in the hope that, if not looking, it's gone. But the key is to do the exact opposite. To look at carefully with love and patience, we can begin to understand that it's part of who we are, our faults, our weaknesses, and they are also our strengths are hidden, just waiting to be recognized and integrated into our lives. On the basis of this perception, it changes everything in that aspect. Life is no longer a constant battle being waged against us, is limited and is on a journey of discovery, hospitality, and manufacturing. And, in the process, we believe that freedom is not something that is given to us a gift, but something they have earned each and every day, with every decision to be faithful to the truth, even if it goes against what others expect or want from us. It's like all of a sudden we start to see our own soul, and with more clarity, understanding that every choice, every step, it's an opportunity to reaffirm who we truly are, without masks, without the lies, without the need to appeal to the world. This doesn't mean that everything is going to be easy or that you don't face any difficulties, but when we can connect you with the liberty to the interior, and we find the strength to move forward with a more lightly on the planet, with no hope, with a certain quiet that you're on the right path, even if it is to be said. And this is where the magic happens. To be free of outside expectations, we find that love for yourself. It becomes a never-ending source of energy, courage, and compassion. We have learned that true strength comes from within, and that it is not dependent on external circumstances, and that, when we accept our own imperfections, we are unable to accept any other people with their differences and uniqueness. At this point, we realize that freedom is a choice, every day, to be an act of courage, which in turn calls us to give up control of, to fear and doubt, and in the embrace of authenticity with all of my heart. So, each day becomes a new opportunity to reaffirm a connection with what is most true in the us, to remind you that the universe conspires to help those who have the courage to listen, to learn, and to love each other more than anything else. Because deep down, that it is the greatest revolution that we can do that. Free of our soul, to make it dance to the rhythm of our lives, no fear, no limits, just the church. I now want to go more in depth on this subject, and when we do, we realize that the more we allow ourselves to live in that freedom, the more it grows, like an echo that reverberates in the infinity of our being, touching every corner of our lives. It's like, to be free, desencadiosimos, kind of a wake-up collective. A current is invisible to the transformation begins within each and every one of us, and that spreads around the world, changing how we perceive life, love, and happiness. Because, at the end of the day, it all boils down to our ability to see beyond illusions, to understand who we are, far more than our limitations, and our humanity is of pure light. You just need to learn how to open your eyes to it. And, in doing so, it will all become more clear, lighter in weight, more real. And then life is no longer a struggle, and it turns out to be a dance. It is an expression of the freedom that pulsates in the rhythm of the heart. Leave in the comments, I came to realize the truth. And even when everything seems to be confusing, and when the shadows seem to be growing, and the questions are transformed into the walls, which seem to be insurmountable, it is precisely at this point that we also have to remember that the light has never ceased to exist in all of us. They may be concealed, covered in layers of fear, limiting beliefs, expectations that have been imposed on the course of the time, but it never disappears, indeed. It's like a spark in the darkness, thicker, stays on, waiting for just the right instant to lighten, to return to the path. And that moment comes when you decide to look into it, when we have the courage to face up to that part of us that is often avoided, the one with the silence that so much it scares him, but that, in fact, is the place that our essence is revealed. It's as if, when you immerse yourself in this quiet, you could hear the soft voice that had always been there, saying that it makes perfect sense that the day is ours, and that every step you take, no matter how hard it may seem, it is a very important part in the construction of who we really are. In this process of awakening, we realize that our own limitations are nothing more than the stories we tell ourselves, and the stories that it can be rewritten at any time. Just have the courage to let go than to hold on to the past, to that which no longer serves us. And it is this freedom, the possibility of it to start over, is a gift that is freely available to everyone, because it is born out of an internal decision, a conscious decision to look beyond what our physical eyes can see. It's as if suddenly all to gain a new perspective, a new color, a new vibration, and what seemed to be an endless battle is a dance of fluid in which each movement is a great opportunity to learn, to evolve, to connect with what is deepest in themselves. And in this connection is what really changes us, because it makes us understand that we are part of something much bigger than what we see on the surface. We are a spark of the divine, the universe of possibilities, expanding. From this understanding, we can begin to understand that the universe conspired in our favor, since the very beginning, and that every experience, every challenge, and it was an essential part of our evolution. And in that moment of clarity, we feel a responsibility to be new, and a desire to live with more authenticity, being true to who we truly are, without masks, without fear. Because deep down, it all comes down to the courage to be who you really are, and of accepting our own imperfections as a part of our journey, to embrace our pain as a catalyst for growth. And in doing so, we realize that life is no longer a struggle against the outside world, and it turns out to be a dance, a celebration of all that we are and are becoming. It is a journey of self-discovery that is never-ending, in a constant search for understanding of the higher truth that is within us, just waiting for you to let it blossom. Because in the end, it's all a matter of choice, for a look that is different from a decision to look beyond appearances and recognize the strength of which lies in the quiet, in the peace and authenticity. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. It is at this point that we begin to understand that the pursuit of self-knowledge, it is not a task to an external, but to an inner journey that requires courage, honesty, and a genuine desire to change. It's as if each layer removed revealed a new dimension of ourselves, the part closer to the truth that has always been there, hidden away under the weight of expectations and on the surface. And then, when you find that out, we realize that it really limits us. It is not the environment, but on our own strength to accept who we really are. It's as if, when you open the hand of fear, we can finally free ourselves from the chains unseen, which we hold on to a life that is not our truth. And this liberation is the key to living a fuller, more self-aware, more in tune with our inner self's phone. Every decision, every silence, every moment of insight, it is an opportunity to connect with that truth, to realize that the universe, in its infinite wisdom, has always guided us to this wake up. So that's probably the biggest lesson is this: who is the real transformation begins within, and the courage to look at yourself honestly, to recognize that we are in a field of possibilities, just waiting for us to decide to open ourselves up to it. And when you do that, everything around you starts to change because the perception is changing, and the world reflects this change, from the inside to the outside, such as the dance of the eternal light and the shadow, out of fear and of love and of self-deception and the truth. And at that very moment, as we go deeper into the reflection, it becomes clear that the journey is not anything that follows from one moment to the other, or in a way that you can walk through without any mistakes or have any questions. On the contrary, it is made up of small, daily finds. The choices seem to be simple, but it carries a heavy burden on our development. And here comes the question: how many times do we allow ourselves to be carried away by the fear of looking into our own shadows, to face what we don't want to admit it? Because deep down, the biggest challenge has been just that. Take that inside us. There are parts of you that would prefer to conceal, that a lot of times we think of as negative or undesirable, when, in fact, they are only a fraction of a greater truth that we have not been able to understand it. The courage to look inside, it requires sincerity, brutal, and a desire to peel off the masks that we wear to protect ourselves from the outside world, but who, deep down, in the trap, in the illusion of separation. It's as if, when you connect with that essence more deeply, we begin to realize that all the things that once appeared to be in a battle with the world, and it turned out to be a fight for ourselves. And to be free from these chains inside, we realize that the universe around us, align with, as if it were an extension of a state of mind. So, the world becomes a mirror, and a canvas where you can paint new colors, new possibilities, new dreams, which had previously been hidden under the layers of fear and doubt. Every decision that we make in this process is a kind of map. It takes it to a whole new level of understanding, to a more authentic to who we really are. And in it, life ceases to be a sequence of obstacles and happens to be an opportunity for steady growth. That is the challenge. You were a lesson disguised as a chance for us to reconnect with our true essence, that which is nothing and no one can take away from us, for it is an inseparable part of our being. And when you understand it, you start to realize that the real power is not in your strength, in an attempt to control everything around us, but in the ability to surrender to the flow of life with confidence, knowing that everything happens at exactly the right time, to the extent that we are ready to absorb everything that is presented to us. And this is where it goes to one of the greatest revelations, that our freedom is not the absence of problems or difficulties with, but that we are able to transform each and every one of them as an opportunity for growth. Because you are, in essence, we are the creators of our own reality, the architects of our own destiny, and is well aware of that, it has a power that goes beyond words. It's a quiet strength, which is pressed into the bottom of your heart and invites us to awaken to what really matters. Your connection to the truth, the self, and with the understanding that we are all part of an infinite universe of possibilities. When we begin to see the truth, it changes everything. Not because life has become perfect, but that's because we fully understand that perfection is in the imperfections, in the authenticity and being who you truly are, without masks, without the shades of fear or the expectations of external stakeholders. At this point, we realize that our journey is a journey of self-discovery, of self-transformation, the rediscovery of our essential phone. And in doing so, we are lighter, more confident, more connected to what really matters to you. Because deep down, all of which we look out there, it only reflects what we already carry within us. A seed of hope and of love and of the potential is unlimited. And it is this seed will only exist when we decide to take care of her dedication, courage, and assured us that we are the only ones responsible for the transformation of our reality. So, every step, every choice, every moment of silent reflection, it's a chance to connect with this inner strength to remind you that you're a part of something bigger, something that never leaves you, even in your most difficult times. And then, in the continuous cycle of discovery, and that it is more clear, however, is that the transformation is not a destination, but a way of living, an attitude of the soul, which in turn calls us to be always open, always willing to learn and to evolve. Because, deep down, life is a dance of light and shade, and learn how to dance with the one that makes us truly free. And this freedom is born from within, out of a deep understanding that we are the authors of our time in history, the masters of our destiny, to be able to create a reality that reflects the beauty, the strength and the courage that already exist within us. From this understanding, it will all become more clear, lighter in weight, more real. And our mission is simply this, to live with authenticity, love, and the certainty that, in the wake of this truth, we are, in fact, taking the most important step of the entire journey. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. If you've come this far, it's because that's the message he spoke to you in some way. Very few people are able to connect so deeply to the end. And if you're here, it's a sign that a story has left an imprint on your heart. He comments that, "I'm with you till the end of it." It makes me realize just how much of this journey is shared with you, for those in search of something real, something that makes no sense. And if this conversation resonated with you, take the chance to subscribe to the channel. Here it is. Our purpose is to walk with reflecting, learning, and growing more and more authentic. Therefore, you will stay up to date with new services that can help you transform your eyes and strengthen your daily walk. And, of course, if you get this message brought a lot of impact, it's a simple gesture, but one that helps spread our story for a lot more people who need to hear something like that. To get to the end of it, which shows the desire to evolve, to dive deeper into what really matters to you. And who knows, your next step is to watch the video that complements this history, bringing in more clarity and inspiration in your way. Is right here on the side that connects to all of it, is still with me in there because the journey doesn't end here. With each step, with each reflection, this is an opportunity to discuss and to come closer and closer to what is most real in you. If the conversation has touched you in some way, if you sign up to get the most content so it helps to think differently and to live with more purpose. And remember, this message has stayed with me until the very end, and I hope that you also have been to you. Let's follow together, because this is a journey, this is our too.